And we are recorded. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second day episode edition of the Joshua Fast podcast. I am very grateful that everybody that does interact with me about how I'm doing a great job. I really appreciate it. People leaving likes, leaving subscriptions on the YouTube page. It's fantastic. Leaving likes on the Facebook page is fantastic as well. I would mention about Instagram, but Instagram are being a bunch of dicks because they deleted my account by no reason whatsoever. So fuck that.
Shame on you, Instagram.
Yeah, shame on Instagram because Instagram would have been a fantastic platform for me because I've got kind of like most of the bandmates I know, even you, on Instagram. So it's kind of like that would have been a great way to start like getting more recognition. But unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit tricky to try and get a new one. If I did say get a new account, not only I'll have to start over again, but it's in terms of will it happen again? It's a possibility. So I'm just leaving it as it is and just stick to my personal account. If nobody is following on it, you can follow me on Autistic Slammer, autistic.slammer. I am basically just one guy who's got autism and listen to slam, but you know, I have different variety of music as well. Not just like raw death metal, but I listen to jazz, just chill music. You know, I like to do stuff like that once in a while. But let's get on to my interviewee, my dude who I know for quite a while. This guy, he is one half of the Technopath. He is also played Vulvodyina live, but it depends on the shows, I suppose. But I know you've been playing live shows once in a while. I have seen you come when I've been doing London shows, definitely. But he's also in another guitarist band, and I am going to do the fucking impossible. So this is shout out to Duncan and Chris because I know that's their band. This band is called Acoustic Spiritual Liquid Explosion, generated by the massive amounts of filthy, bestial, fistine, and sophistic, somnolity inside the infected maggot, infested room of the molested non-dying under the roof of the burning church, while the priest watches and ejaculates an immense and possessive pleasure over his first flesh fetus. Duncan and Chris, that's for you guys, okay? If you don't watch the podcast, I swear to God, I don't love you guys anymore, all right? But to be fair, Chris is one of my interview sessions in the future. So, Duncan, you need to get on this fucking podcast with me. Okay? If you don't, then I don't love you anymore. All right? It's over. All right? But this guy is Mr. Lwandile, Prusent, and he is a fantastic dude. I have seen him so many times live. Lwandile, it's fantastic to have you on the podcast. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing fucking great. That was an amazing intro you had, my dude.
That might be the best one I have for quite a while, to be fair.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. Good. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. Considering all the circumstances that are going around with COVID-19 and, you know, not seeing many friends, having to work most of the time, and considering the summer, as I am a retail worker, where I'm living in retail is going to get absolutely manic. We normally have a boat race session in the beginning of June called the Henley Regatta. That's been postponed because obviously COVID-19 and social distancing needs to be really, really aware from the government. So it's obviously going to happen next year, but this year is just a little bit relaxing, but I can't relax. So I just need to make sure I stay stress-free much as I can, but that's probably going to be impossible because let's just say this whole thing is just not going to happen. You're still going to have the back of your mind making sure you're not infected, you're not actually being socially distant or very close with people. You need to stay away from people much as you can. Try and interact with people much as you can as well, because that's the main important thing. What you want to do is just stay in contact. Most of the time at this period, it's just summer festival season, so many bands will be loving to go to festivals. I'm sure Vulvodyina would have had a few shows live coming through, especially Asia tour back in early this year. You guys would have played Asia. That's obviously been, that's been postponed, unfortunately. I I'm sure you guys would have had like other shows like in Europe and UK as well. Obviously, that's postponed. And it's obviously very difficult with this whole situation going around. So pretty much as I'm going to ask you the first question, obviously the shows are going to be postponed until maybe, let's just say realistically, end of next year till like 2022. Do you really think it's going to be in that picture that we're going to be all right in 2021, or do you think it's still going to be much longer until things are going to be back to normal, that we should be enjoying ourselves?
I mean, right now it's kind of hard to tell where this thing is going and when it'll let up. I like to be optimistic. I would really love to say that by next year, everything will be fine. We'll be going out again to shows or whatever. But I feel like saying that is kind of irresponsible, because if in just a couple months, like COVID has been around for like a couple months since it like actually blew up, and it has the whole world completely shut down right now. So the optimist in me would say I would love for it to be open, because I want to get back to my previous life and everything. But if I'm being realistic, I really don't see this thing going away anytime soon. And on the chance that something happens and it does go away, everybody was still going to be encouraging social distancing and stuff, because we don't want a whole resurgence of the virus again if it does finish. So even if it does clear up, there's still going to be a lot of people staying indoors, a lot of people social distancing, which would be the smart thing to do, obviously. But as I said, I'm trying to be optimistic about it. It'd be amazing if it clears up in the coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would love to be optimistic as well, but unfortunately, I have to be realistic, because first of all, I am working in retail, and you know, being a key worker, as people say, key worker, you know, we're just getting thrown into the fucking trash, and then you know we have to deal with it. But we also have to deal with the fact that there are some people that are being irresponsible. They don't want to take the fact that it's all real. Like I have seen news articles that people saying it's all fake. People are still doing massive gatherings, and you know it's just making things a lot harder for the ones that are staying at home to actually be able to go back to normal, if we want things back to normal by summer period. But that's not going to happen, because I mentioned a few friends of mine that they said, oh yeah, we can be back by September. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, because, you know, personally, people are going out as normal now. They are still requiring it like as a holiday payment, but they're not really working. They're only working at home. Obviously, that's a good thing, that if they are working from home, which are the office workers or whatever, then that's fantastic. You know, I don't want to say they don't deserve to work or whatsoever, but there are some people out there that don't have jobs. They're taking this as an actual holiday, and you know they're enjoying it, and they just want to make things an absolute nightmare for most of the people that can't stick to the guidance, you know. And unfortunately, it does suck, because I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but in the UK, our lockdown's gone down to ease, where people are allowed to exercise more than once a day. They can go out much as they want to exercise, as they put it down in quote and unquote, because people just go outside to make an excuse to go for a picnic, or they just want to socialize with people. They just want to actually enjoy themselves, like it was actually a summer that didn't have no infection. But unfortunately, people who are doing it, they don't see the bigger picture. But let's just say they do see it, they might as well just stick to the protocols and the procedure straight away, because the most people that do it, it's going to go away very soon, and that would be the best thing for them to do. But again, as people are not sticking to the protocols, it's making it really hard that we can go back to normal one day, you know. And especially I want to have my family gatherings coming again, and it's not happening, man. And I want to go back to shows. It's not going to happen. Especially want to see you guys who are living in South Africa or like Germany or France. I can't see any of you guys, or especially if you're coming to do touring here, because you guys are staying at home as well. And obviously the whole flight flight agreements are banned as well, so you can't fly anywhere. So they're trying to restrict things much as possible when it comes to traveling too. But yeah, I don't know what it's like in South Africa. Is it much strict, or is it just like, just basically my country? It's just gone back to a little bit easier now.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we started off, we had a whole lockdown, but South Africa started really early. I think we had less than 100 infected people when we started with our lockdown, because they try to be ahead of the curve.
Yep.
So we had a very strict lockdown. We couldn't do anything, couldn't leave the house for any reason at all besides essentials like food and stuff like that, etc. So we had that for about a month or so, and then we had an extension of that lockdown. Okay. So we had about 2 months of straight, you could not leave the house lockdown. And then as of recently, our president has just gave us this new system where we have 5 levels of lockdown now. And the full total lockdown is the one that we just came from, which is level 5. Right? Where you can't leave the house for nothing besides essentials. Right now we're at level 4, which is pretty much like level 5, except now we have a brief window period between, I want to say 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning, of where you can go out, you can exercise, you can walk your dog, you can, do those usual things. And then it closes at 9 o'clock again, and then normal lockdown. And we can order some stuff. We can have takeaways. We can have some items that are available. That are marked as essential services, whatever. We're allowed that. At the end of this month, we've just been informed that we're going to go to level 3. And I'm not really sure what level 3 is as of yet. But by the end of this month, we're supposed to enter that, which I'm assuming we're just going to get a little bit more freedom to move around right now. But what's concerning to me is that even though we're slowly lightening up these restrictions, because South Africa is pretty good at social distancing and staying indoors. We've been behaving as a country so far. It's just a few areas, like Cape Town, South Africa. That's the place that's right now the worst.
One of the worst ones.
Yeah, most of the infected come from there. There's like a picture that kind of went a little bit viral on the internet of Cape Town, where it's just like a bunch of people by the beach walking their dogs, or just having picnics, or just having fun, whatever. Like a bunch of people are just outside during this time. And that kind of blew up and just made South Africa look terrible. So right now, one of our main causes is Cape Town, which is very stupid. I don't know why things are not slowing down over there, but they're like the thorn in our side. I'm sorry, my Cape Townian friends, but stay inside.
Absolutely.
So yeah, right now we're supposed to be transitioning into level 3, which I'm still not sure what that is yet. But we've been pretty okay when it's coming to social distancing and staying indoors and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wish our country had that restriction where you can have a specific time zone and just let your dog or have an exercise, and then that's it. You have to stay inside. But unfortunately, our government and our country don't have a backbone, and they don't give a shit. By the looks of it, they just all gone back to normal. And the reason why this whole lockdown thing has gone to easy, and this is not me showing any coincidence, is because of the economy reasons. And obviously, many people are going to say, "Oh, that's a load of bullshit." People like the big companies do care about other people, like the small fries or whatever. That's not true, because if, let's say, for instance, the government still allows the people to stay inside, given the commission of like America does, for example, or Canada does, give 2,000 Canadian dollars or $2,000 for people to stay at home each month. It's kind of like free money. But the thing is, now that money is coming out from the government's pocket, and now the government's not happy about it because the economy is getting struck out and people are not working. So it's kind of like the system is actually getting corrupted. in a good way, but the good way in our terms. But when it comes to government's terms, it's a bad way because they are wanting so much money from these big companies to, you know, keep them going and try and make sure they pay tax and everything. But obviously, I'm going to have a big bickering about the big corporations and not paying their taxes. You know, there's Apple, there's Microsoft, there's Starbucks, there's all those companies that don't pay their tax so much.
Yeah.
They pay so little amount. And the thing is, if they allow these big corporations having to spend so much tax money, most of the struggles from our world will be fucking fixed. All these countries, all these little town centers, or little cities from like Kenya, Africa, you know, all the world hunger, poverty will be fucking gone. And, you know, it just takes the piss, man. Like, I'm speaking from my own opinion, but obviously I'm a small guy who is pretty much woke. And people may say, oh, you're just full of shit. Do your fucking research. Look, go through Google, go through Instagram, or go through people who knows these situations. You will see the bigger picture. And let's just say, for example, our country, we have the choice MPs. The choice of being our government seats for the past 10 years. And the choice would have said, oh, we're going to make sure our healthcare service is much better. It's never been bad for the past 10 years. It's been shit. Like the nurses, the doctors, the ambulance folks, you know, all the help offerings, all the emergency services, they get shit money out of it. And they're the ones that's saving our lives. Like this moment now, they're actually, you know, they're saving us. They get no appreciation out of it. They have to pay big tax money out of it. And, you know, they get stone fucked. And that's it, man.
Yeah.
It takes
I feel like that's so unfair for the people that still have to be working right now. There has to be like proper compensation for people that are still literally risking their lives to bring us things that we need to survive in our respective countries and stuff. Yeah, but I don't really think government cares about that.
They don't. We have a government that does not care about anybody but themselves. And let's just put it this way: if the tax has to give us the suffering, which we're the poor, so we suffered a lot. The mid class are kind of like still have to pay tax, but the rich ones, they're not paying so much. They're paying so little. And the ones that are like the billionaires, and they're not paying anything at all. So it's kind of like that class is the system operation of the diagram, the triangle diagram, where, you know, that's how it works, unfortunately. But yeah, the key workers, they deserve so much hard praise, and, you know, they deserve big bonuses. Like, I can give you a little sneak peek that on our announcement, we got told we would get an extra £100 bonus on our first month when we got struck by the coronavirus. Ever since then, we won't get any more extra bonuses.
It's just over from then.
It's not worth it, no, because I said to my colleague, that was going to go straight to tax, and it went straight to tax.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
what's the point?
What was the point? Yeah, exactly. So it's just pointless for me, you know. But obviously, it's very, very bad, you know.
I can understand that whole side of it not mattering at all. I've seen other countries getting a lot more compensation, like monthly and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each month. South Africa gets like 350 Rand,
okay.
Which I guess in pounds. Let me just see how much that is in pounds.
Sure.
That's 16 quid. That's 16 pounds.
Yeah, basically pennies.
every month.
Bullshit.
I'm not really sure what people can do with that much money. But our stimulus check relief thing, it doesn't really exist over here. I don't think too many people are benefiting from that, besides the people that really need it to survive in South Africa. And, you know, our government has tried to take people off of the streets because there's a lot of homeless people in South Africa.
Yeah.
And they've been trying to take them off of the streets and into different facilities where they can have meals every day. But what these people do, we've seen them around. I live in a place called Midrand in South Africa.
Sure.
We've seen these homeless people still staying out. Like, instead of going to the provided places for them, they stay outside and still trying to, you know, beg from people as they drive by in their cars and everything, which really doesn't make sense to me. I understand that they're struggling, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're begging during this time, you really think somebody's going to stop their car and open their window to give you money, wearing a mask and everything, you know? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure what they're trying to do, but they're still leaving those places and trying to earn money on the streets.
Honestly, it's so
I've seen a lot of people selling masks too on the streets.
Yeah, I've been told that's one of the latest rules when it comes to law agreement, where in America you have to wear a face mask once you're in and once you're out.
Same in South Africa.
So I know that that's happening. In the UK, we don't have to, but it's provided as an option. But I wouldn't be surprised that if it does happen eventually. But I've been told that some of the face masks don't actually help you; they actually make you feel.
I've also heard that.
I've been trying to avoid that, and it's not because I've got a good immune system. It's just because if I know my researchers and whatever, then I'm going to trust it within my gut.
In South Africa, unfortunately, you have to. Well, you cannot leave the house without a mask. It's a law. You can get fined for not wearing a mask outdoors. So,
of course,
regardless of any sort of studies that prove otherwise or whatever, we have to leave with wearing masks and gloves and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, if it keeps happening with the main countries like South Africa and America, I think Canada's doing it at the moment. I'm not sure. But if let's say they're doing it, then we could probably get told we have to do it as well. I mean, I've got no problem with it, and it might wake people up a little bit. But the trouble is, you're still going to have people that are just going to ignore the rules, and they're just going to do whatever the fuck they want. So, unfortunately, that's going to be like a problem everywhere where you go, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So, obviously, this is not a problem now that we can just get rid of this topic because, you know, it's all negative and crap. But let's get to the good stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So the good stuff, basically, that everyone wants to know. Where do you come from being a musician that wanted to be a guitarist and play Technopath and, you know, I'm not going to say the other band's name, but yeah, because I think Duncan and Chris
Xavleg for short.
Xavleg, you know, so let's just say that. Right? Sorry, guys, but I already said it once. I'm not going to say it again.
Yeah, I mean, born and raised in South Africa, Johannesburg, South Africa. I started playing like 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure like it's about 10 years ago. And I started playing like early like classic rock and stuff. I remember when I started playing guitar. Pretty much anything that was anything that had guitar, because I didn't have I wasn't into a lot of guitar music. I was like listening to a bunch of hip hop and whatever my folks were listening to and everything. So I was just searching on the internet and stuff for guitar-related music, and classic rock had a lot of guitar-related music in it. So at first I gravitated towards that, and you know, learned a bunch of Black Sabbath, learned a lot of Judas Priest's, AC/DC stuff.
Cool.
You know, that type of stuff for a while, and then when I got to I think grade 10, around grade 10, grade 11, I started hanging around with people that were listening to a lot heavier music.
Yeah.
And at the time, it wasn't very appealing to me. I was just like, hey, I listen to music with guitars. You guys like music with guitars. Let's hang out with each other.
Yeah.
And like slowly but surely, their influence kind of like...
It kind of dipped in, but it had to take like some time. Yeah,
exactly. You have to get used to it, you know, because this is a music and I wasn't even listening to things like that heavy yet. Like they were listening to a lot of like hardcore, metalcore, all the core genres. You know, I listen to that type of stuff. So I started getting into that stuff. And for me, it's like, wow, it's just more music to learn guitar with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so I was all for it. It didn't properly hit me until when I was around grade 12 or something in the trick, where a friend sent me like this folder full of a bunch of bands. And I remember that folder had Suffocation.
Yep.
It had a local band called Insidious Rain. It had Diacide. It had a lot of just Municipal Waste. It had a lot of old school death metal bands. And I started listening to that. And I just, like, the first death metal song I was into, because I was listening to a bunch of core stuff back then, but the first proper death metal thing I was into was Suffocation, Bind, Torture, Kill. Yeah. And I just remember, man, that first riff, I just remember falling in love with that.
Yeah, I loved it so much as well.
Yeah, that was so sick. And I think that's just where the delve into heavy music, more brutal music, really started then. Because from there, I just went down the rabbit hole, and I started learning a bunch of death metal and stuff. And I was still a teenager at this time, you know.
Nice.
Learning a bunch of this death metal stuff. And the good thing about, because I wasn't very good at guitar yet, so the good thing about death metal is a lot of bands just stick to the whole those type of riffs, and those type of riffs aren't that hard to play on guitar. So that was like perfect for me during that time. So I fell in love with that and learned a bunch of that. And then eventually I got into progressive music, more technical, more pretty, more jazzy type of music.
Yeah.
And that's when my guitar playing, I started taking it very, very seriously. And then I used to practice a whole bunch and learn, because another whole new world has been exposed to me. I used to listen to bands like Intervals and Old School Polyphia and a bunch of progressive bands and Dream Theater and so on. And then I started actually properly trying to play guitar. And then I met Chris. No, I didn't meet Chris. Actually, Chris found me. I have a YouTube channel called Crayon, where I used to upload a bunch of just, you know, me playing guitar, my own solo stuff. And then I'm not sure how Chris found my channel, but he found my channel, and then he popped me a message on Facebook. And he said something along the lines like, "Hey man, are you South African?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm South African." He's like, "I love your videos on YouTube." And I was like, "Cheers, man." And at this time, of course, I know who Chris is, like, because of Vulvodyina.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I didn't know Technopath then yet. I think that was like before they properly released their stuff, or maybe just after. I forgot when. But this was like in 2000, either at the end of 2007 or the beginning of 2018. 2017, at the end of 2017 or the beginning of 2018, nice. Which wasn't that long ago.
No.
But we just started chatting. We started sending music back and forth between each other because we both liked the way we wrote. And the funny story is actually they were playing a show in South Africa, because Vulvodyina doesn't usually play shows in South Africa. But they were playing a show in South Africa, and I didn't know Chris at this time yet. I didn't know him at all. We hadn't been talking or whatever. But this was my first time seeing them live. I had heard them before many times. But this is the first time seeing them live, and I remember them absolutely blowing me away with how brutal the music was and how well it translated live. And I was just like, wow, this band is so freaking amazing. And I don't think I've even told them this, but like, I remember just thinking, wow, it'd be so amazing if I could like join these guys and go with them around the world, because they were the only metal band in South Africa that was actually touring worldwide. So I just remember being super impressed and like wishing, man, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
Fast forward, Chris contacts me. We start sending music back and forth. And then he sends me a message after we've been talking to each other for a couple of months. He said, "Hey man, I have this other band called Technopath. Our guitarist from that band just left. Would you like to join?" And I was like, of course, that would be amazing. Yeah, because we both like the same type of music and everything. So I joined Technopath. And yeah, it was easy. We actually met in person for the first time that year and instantly clicked. We had a lot of stuff in common. And yeah, we've been homies for a while. You know, fast forward that, he invited me to join Xavleg. And then eventually they also asked me to help out with Vulvodyina and stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's been history since.
There we go. That's the history that what he has to say, and that's all great.
Yeah.
You know, and no, it's fantastic how you have a story about you done some like covers, for example, and then all of a sudden Chris was like, "Wow, I like to speak to this guy," you know.
Yeah, out of nowhere. He was so trusting. I don't know what made him trust me so much. Like the first time we met, he left all of his gear at my house.
Really?
This is the first time we've ever met, and we were writing music, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go home now. Why don't I leave my guitar? He's ordering me. Why don't I leave my guitar and my camper at your place, and I'll come back tomorrow, and we can carry on. And I was like, are you sure? You've just met me. You want to leave 60,000 Rand, which is like 3,000 pounds worth of gear.
Yeah.
With a stranger? And he was like, yeah, sure. And he just left and he came back the next day. It was so weird. I don't know why he trusted me so much.
I think it's the fact that, and I think I've started to know that South Africans have become a bit more friendly, a bit more trustworthy than, let's say, UK folks, for example. They just want to pretty much shag everybody's ex-mistresses or whatever. So it's always been a thing, like when it comes to UK folks. And it's a bit weird, but it kind of makes a point that some people can't be trustworthy here, but you can trust the right people, and then it goes in a long, long way. So that's obviously what Chris thought, and he was like, "Oh, I can trust you," and you know, it went for his right instincts because he trusted his gut. So you know, and that's great. And obviously, it's great that you're doing all this Technopath stuff, and then Volvo Live. I don't know what the situation is with Volvo because I know their guitarist Luke is one of the permanent guitarists, and shout out to Luke. You know, I hope he's doing well since I haven't spoken to him for quite a while. But no, I mean for quite a while, I know Luke can go to many shows when it comes to outside of UK, and because it's most of it's like work reasons, and then it might be financial reasons, and so it was.
Yeah, I mean
the main reasons, but we don't know what the direction is going to be next with Volvo if. Let's say you're still going to be live when it comes to like outside of Europe, and then Luke's going to do the ones inside UK. Yeah. We don't know that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the situation with Vulvodyina. I mean, first of all, like I am absolutely in love with every single person in Vulvodyina. They're family. Yeah. They're family to me. They're family.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're some of the best people in the whole wide world, and you know, when I started playing with them, they just like, with open arms, just like grabbed me and was like, hey, come join our world, be part of us and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm eternally grateful for that. The situation with me and Luke playing different shows that we can, it's just, right now, it's just to make it work, because some shows Luke can't make.
Yeah, of course.
Because of his personal reasons, and some tours he can't make because of his personal reasons. So whenever that happens, I'm kind of like the go-to. Yeah, I'm kind of the go-to to go and I go tour with them and everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like at this point I'm pretty integrated into the band, where like, because we've played shows before with all of Vulvodyina, with me, Chris, and Luke. Like all 3 guitarists on stage at once. We played shows where all of us were on stage before. And that was an amazing feeling. I would love to play more shows like that. It's just that it's you know, it's hard to have a band with 6 members. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of money if it comes to flying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's going to cost a lot of money, a lot of visas to cover off. But the biggest example that has a 6-man band would be Stillbirth, and obviously they're all like in Germany and stuff. So it's not like when it comes to Volvo, most of you guys are from South Africa and Lucas in the UK. Obviously, that's really tough. But when it comes to Stillbirth,
but they make it
live
work.
in Europe, and they do live. They, as you said, they make it work, and they live in Germany, so it all works out very, very much for them all.
Yeah.
So
I
shout out
love
to
those
Stillbirth.
guys.
Yeah.
Shout out Stillbirth. They're fucking amazing.
Yeah, they're fucking great, and I can't wait for their new single. They're going to be releasing sometime soon. I don't know when, but I think
you're gonna love it.
See, this is why I should be getting all these new music before anyone else does, because you know I am a great person. But no, it seems like I have to wait. So
I mean, they're band members. I'm Stillbirth a band member, so
yeah, it's true.
It's like I'm privileged enough to have access to a lot of Stillbirth stuff that many people don't.
Mate,
that's literally the only reason. That's the only reason why I have that, because they're homies.
Yeah, but I'm homies with you guys and them, and it's like I don't get anything.
Well, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. I'm sure they're gonna drop it.
It's not coming sooner. That's the problem. I need some new music that's actually gonna get through this quarantine shit. You know.
That's actually a lot of some of the reason why a lot of bands and stuff are delaying the release of their albums, because of this lockdown and quarantine and stuff, because bands like to release albums and then they like to tour albums, because where bands make money is with touring and merchandise and stuff like that. So it's hard if you release an album now. It's not going to do as well as it would if we weren't under lockdown and stuff like that, because people can't come to shows, people can't buy merch at shows and stuff like that. So a lot of people are like trying to find out a way to make that work, and it's a weird time for bands right now.
I mean, I had a podcast session with Mr. Corey Harvey or it was with the session I had with Ricky Annis. If you guys have not seen the session, episode 5, I spoke to him about where, it's like we just mentioned about how it's a bit difficult to try and make interaction with the fans while under this quarantine section. Sometimes it's a bit more helpful where if you guys did actually do a Zoom meeting, like all of you guys in the band actually do Zoom meeting and, try to do some video stuff just to make sure people get some new content while they're still waiting, that can work. Or like Stillbirth was trying to organize a what was it? Fuck you, COVID-19 live stream, and obviously that got cancelled, but that could have worked. But obviously the circumstances, it doesn't help at all. But I think it's the only way it's going to work if the circumstances are kind of gotten a bit more ease, where friends and family can get along together again. They can make up for a long time's sake. I think that's going to be the biggest opportunity when the bands can come back again, and that's going to be when they could do like live streaming. They can do like maybe new music again. And as far as new content goes, when it comes to like releasing music, they can still like do releasing music on Bandcamp and Spotify. But if you want like physical copies, it's definitely going to have to wait. And that's going to be the struggle. But I think in the long run, things will get back better. It's just we're facing ourselves into the new normal lifestyle, and that's becoming a bit more problematic because not many of us are used to being strict, and not many of us are used to be working our asses off so much where we have to be suffering a lot as well. But I hope sooner or later things will get back to normal. But we'll see how it goes, and we are going to have to take it day by day, and we have to take the situation as serious as it is to stay this structure going through our lives, to make sure we're actually doing our jobs properly. But
I mean, the best thing fans of bands and stuff and listeners can do for bands right now is just stream the crap out of their music. Buy merch if you can. If your import things are closed right now, I know you can't, but if it's available in your country, buy merch. Watch their videos. A lot of band members in different bands are offering other services like lessons or whatever during the time. And right now, all the musicians from those bands really need it. So I think it's really important if you want to support a band during this time to definitely do so, because when such a big part of our lives have just been stopped completely,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it gets hard to make ends meet, because we had all of these plans for this year, and now all of these plans are gone. So we have to try make new plans and stuff to carry on living.
I think no, I definitely agree. If people still want to support the bands, where there was an option in Bandcamp, and this is like I've mentioned this probably maybe just once on my personal Facebook account. Bandcamp, in every month they're going to provide the profit for all the bands they're going to be submitting money to. So basically, if you give Stillbirth money, that whatever album you purchase, that money is going towards the band. It's not going to go straight. It's not going straight to the company.
Yeah, so it's going straight to Stillbirth.
Yeah, exactly. So the best time to do it is soon as this whole month regime actually happens, because that's actually the best time when the bands can get more money coming through.
Exactly.
I mentioned another thing where, and you can do like a GoFundMe thing. Maybe it's an idea where maybe you can bands can sell like signed items, and then you can donate it, or maybe and there's kind of like a raffle.
Yeah.
You don't have to do like a big donation. You can do like a £2 or £3, dollars, euros, whatever. Just do like a small
it doesn't have to be a huge amount. Everything counts. Everything
exactly.
matters.
And the money can go towards the band to keep going, and that can be a bit more of an income if we're still going to be staying at home.
Exactly.
Like I definitely want to support the band as much as I can, but obviously my bills and roof over my head.
Obviously, if the key word there is if you can support the band, that would be amazing. Obviously, we're not trying to force people to spend their whole paychecks. You know, if you have some leftover money that you're willing to spend, go ahead and just help out a band. There's also a feature on Spotify right now. If you go to Spotify, there's an artist tab that has the option of you donating directly to the artist from Spotify. So all the Spotify subscribers there, that's another way to support.
You can definitely do that. You can make a contribution to the bands, but this is a slight warning though. If you're going to contribute money to the bands on Spotify, Spotify does take most of the money out.
Spotify does take a percentage.
So be very wary about it. So the best thing to do is actually do it on Bandcamp on the specific time and the specific month. It's normally on the Friday, the end of the month or something like that. As far as I can remember, Don Camben from Waking the Cava, and he mentions about it. He mentions about every single month. It's that time of the month where Bandcamp does it. So if you definitely want to keep buying music, buying merch or whatever, Bandcamp is definitely the way forward for the bands to get more money instead of Spotify.
Bands will tell you this too. Every month when it comes, check their socials. Bands will tell you that time of the month is there. So just keep an eye on their socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep wary, keep yourself minded that that's going to be the best thing to do, guys. If you don't know the band, you still can support the bands that you don't know. And, that goes a long, long way, especially when it comes to underground music scenery, where this podcast is all about underground music scenery, and it's all about like how the industry needs to be mattered the most when it comes to underground music industry. Bands that do need that contribution, needs that money, they need that support so much compared to the mainstream bands or mainstream music popularity. So everything matters. Everything, like the money matters, the contribution matters, the support matters when it comes to underground scenery. And especially where you're going to be wanting to make sure you contribute whatever money you can, if you can do it. And if you can, that'd be fantastic, definitely. But it's like Lwandale was mentioned, some musicians do an offering where they can do online sessions, they can do studio sessions. Hell, if they can do something like this, they can do gaming sessions with you, even if it's like a couple of bucks or whatever. You can do something like that for an hour. That still contributes its band members to get money that they need to keep making music or keep themselves alive as they go on. Like, I know this podcast has got no financial gain coming through, but I know for a fact it's still the platform to give band members the opportunity to speak about the bands, the underground scenery, and much, much more. And that's what matters. You know, I'm here to do my duty, and I'm here to make sure I'm doing actually a decent job, which I have been told so many times that people like it, and I really, really fucking appreciate it. I really do. So every support matters. So with that being said, obviously you mentioned about the music that they can't be released when it comes to COVID-19. Was there going to be any new music coming out this year, or is it going to definitely be on hold until next year?
I don't think anything is on hold as creating music goes. Just releasing, maybe that might take a bit of a while. Right now, all of my bands are currently writing stuff. Technopath is we're trying to get some music out, trying to get some sort of release out this year. That's not really set in stone yet. Xavleg, on the other hand, we're currently writing some new music that we are hoping to release either by the end of this year or early next year. We're hoping somewhere around that time, but we're hard at work right now trying to get some really cool tunes.
Yeah, I know that Stillbirth are going to be releasing new music, and that's coming out at the end of summer. It's likely that it's still going to be like that. So Stillbirth are going to be releasing new music at the end of the summer, as I said. There's going to be other bands. Distant to just release a new track. It's called Argent Dent. So if you haven't heard Distant, shout out Distant as well.
Shout out Distant. I fucking love them so much.
I fucking love them too. I love Nuri, the guitarist. I love Alan, the vocalist.
Alan, my homie.
Fucking Alan, man.
Yeah, they're so sick, man.
If you definitely want some artwork, hit up Alan, because he does like a really good piece, and he did one for Jason Evans from Ingested. So shout out Ingested as well. That Jason has got it as his main photo on Instagram display picture, and it's kind of like a melted swampy what's it called, Slam King. So it's kind of like I've
seen that one. That one is so sick.
Alan did a fucking awesome job on that one. So shout out to Alan, you know, with his creativity. And basically anybody that does any creativity studio work, like Pompa with his DPK Studios, all these people that do studio works, they do like online sessions as well, like you do, Chris does, you know, everybody that does guitar and bassist lessons, even maybe vocal lessons, if everything can work properly.
Yeah.
You know, all these artists are doing much as they can to provide income, and that's where it comes to the main thing. Money, obviously, but, you know, it only matters if you can do it. And that just makes it a whole lot easier for band members to just do what they want to do and what they love to do. So speaking of loving, where does all this idea that, you know, you guys as a Vulvodyina family love each other, where did this idea come into play? Was it because of Duncan and Chris, or do you think it was more of you guys got to know each other very well? It's kind of like a big family session, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, when I initially met the whole band, I could tell like it was already there. Like, these guys are more than just bandmates, you know. These guys fucking love each other so much, you know. And that was cool to see. But like, it kind of, when I did my first tour with them, which was last year? I think it was the beginning of last year.
Okay, so you definitely did Xavleg live show in Definitely Open Air, and that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
Definitely 2 years ago. So that was
the first Vulvodyina tour.
That was last. I think that was the same year.
Was it the one with Fit for an Autopsy?
It might.
I think that was like the beginning, either the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019.
Yeah, I think it might have been beginning. Yeah, because I think if I remember, Luke was with Volvo in Definitely Open Air when Vulvodyina did headline.
Yeah. He played with them then. Yeah, when I first toured with them was with the Fit for an Autopsy one, and I thought it was going to be weird. I thought they were going to be like a big loving unit, like they always are, and then I'm on the outside. I knew Chris very well by this time. Yeah, they were just so freaking nice and accommodating and just sweethearts. So they immediately grabbed me and threw me right into the family, you know. And yeah, man, I'm willing to do anything for any of those dudes. And Tom, Chris, Luke, other Chris, and Duncan, they're all like super duper solid boys, and they're my lovely boys that I love so much.
Very lovely boys. They
Very
want to
lovely
conquer the
boys.
world, and you know, as Duncan said, with this meme or this post, it's like, "Oh, we're the best rock band in the world." Yeah. You know, oh my God, I don't know how many times he mentions this. Every goddamn time he's mentioned it to Chris so many times.
Yeah, rock the whole world down.
The world.
That copy pasta. Yeah, we love that. We post that every chance we get.
Jesus
awesome, rock the whole world.
I think you got. I bet Duncan would have posted in Asia when you guys would have done the Asia tour.
He definitely would, man.
And then he'd be like, "Oh yeah,
really
looking for the Asia tour as well, and everything." You know,
rock the whole world. Yeah. We were really bummed that we couldn't do that Asia tour, man. We're all so excited. I've always wanted to go to Japan, so I was excited. Everyone was just like super duper stoked, and then this whole thing happened. So.
Yeah, that's going to definitely be one of the touring disasters because cancelling shows is not fantastic. I mean, rescheduling a show is one different compared to cancelling shows. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I would have loved to see you guys just enjoy the Asia tour. That's for damn sure. But I'm sure that when this whole thing is out of the way, you guys are likely to be wanting to make sure you do Asia tour again. But
100%, 100%.
You know, and when it happens, it fucking happens. I'll be happy to see that happening. That's for damn sure. But I would definitely love to come to South Africa. But it's, as I mentioned to you back in Brighton show, it's all about making sure I get the money and, you know, it's time.
The good thing about South Africa is things aren't that expensive as compared to the UK. I know that just London itself is like crazy expensive to live at, even with hotels and stuff. Actually, for when Xavleg played Death Feast, I forgot, not Death Feast, when Xavleg played Fall in the Brawl, I forgot which Fall in the Brawl it was.
Yeah, in Manchester.
Yeah, it was so expensive just for like hotels and stuff that we actually, when we flew there, me and Chris flew, and we didn't really have a plan of what's going to happen when we got there. So we got there and we found this pub, and we stayed at the pub for that night. And
Jesus.
After that night, we didn't really have a place to go. So we went to like a music store, like a guitar store.
Yep.
And we just like sat at this guitar store for so long. And like, I'm sure the Facebook post is still there. We asked like, hey, we're in Manchester. Some of our members need like a place to stay. And then some amazing soul, his name is Trevor, from America. He was also attending Fall in the Brawl. He was staying at a hotel. And he's like, yeah, you guys can come and crash with me. And so we went to him, became good friends with him. He's such a great guy. And because of him, we got to get housing for that side. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Where we don't have anything. That was just because Fall in the Brawl was just like surprised us out of nowhere. They gave us the offer.
Yeah.
And we just went to play with no plan. But that was still like one of my favorite weekends ever, because that was one of the craziest weekends I'd ever experienced. So I don't regret that at all, even though we didn't have a plan or anything. That taught us a lot though, because now every time we tour, we make sure that we have accommodation and all of these things.
Yeah.
So we make sure of that, because that wasn't fun.
I mean, I know my biggest example is obviously I saw you guys in Brighton. I had to make sure I had a plan of staying in a brothel or like in a shared housing where I can just make sure I pay like, I think it was about £20 for a room for the night.
Yeah.
And obviously the traveling was about maybe £40 to return for the whole fucking night or whatever. But it was like, you've got to make sure you have a plan if you're going to be touring or you're going to go to different places that you don't know, because otherwise you're going to be struggling if you do. So shout out to Trevor, because obviously he made sure he took you guys into homes and, you know.
You're such a great guy.
Yeah. I'm blessing, you know, it's all great, man. So thank you, Trevor, for doing that. It's fucking awesome.
Thank you. Which is terrible, because I, like, the UK is like one of my favorite places in the whole world.
Yeah.
And it being so expensive for like accommodation and stuff really sucks. Because I'd love to move to the UK one day. That's like one of my long-term plans.
Yeah.
But I know I have to be like super duper financially stable in life if I ever do that. So yeah, I really love UK and I can't wait to come back, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I can give you a best tip when it comes to UK, stay living up north because it's cheaper. When you try and live, if you try and live somewhere down London area, down south, it's expensive as fuck, man. Honestly,
it is. And
the tax.
That's like where I want to stay too, because I love London.
I mean, London would definitely be like one of my go-to places to live, but it's so expensive, man. Honestly, I definitely would not recommend it. I would definitely recommend to live somewhere outside of London if you have the money for it and if you've got the financial budget for it. But definitely somewhere up north, somewhere not in Manchester, but somewhere close to Manchester will actually be a bit more cheaper as well. I know Liverpool is one of the places you can probably live, and maybe somewhere like perhaps Sheffield or Stafford or something like that. But you've got to make sure you do your research when it comes to housing as well, because you don't want to be screwed. So, you know, that would be great if you do come and live in UK. I mean, I'll be happy to see that. But that's obviously a big challenge. And one of my challenges as well is to live like in Canada if I was able to do that. Simply because it's not because I like the cold weather, but because I was starting to know a lot of people that live in Canada, and I just thought, I don't know pretty much anybody that lives in the UK that are good friends with, so I want to try and live in Canada. I definitely would not live in America because obviously the situation in America is absolutely chaotic. It's really bad. And shout out to all the Americans that are doing their best to stay alive, even though some of them will actually be dickheads. But, you know, I know there's a lot of Americans that are actually probably struggling as well, and they're doing their best to stay alive, you know. But yeah, I mean, it would be great to see if you can live in UK. I would definitely be happy, and I'm sure many people that we have mutually known, they would be happy to see you live in London or somewhere like in UK as well. And I think
I've got a bunch of friends down there. It'd be amazing to live somewhere there. Yeah, but yeah, as you were saying, you want to come visit South Africa. I was just saying that it's way cheaper. Yeah. The cost of living in South Africa is absolutely dirt cheap.
Sure.
Like I was living in a place, in a different place than where I live now. Right now, I'm lucky enough to be under lockdown with my family. So I have my parents and my cousins and everything.
Yeah,
it's very important during lockdown to be around lots of family. But I used to live a bit further away from here in South Africa by myself, and I was paying like 2,000 rand, maybe like 50, I'd say around 80, 90 pounds a month.
Okay.
And you know, it was a pretty good place too that I was staying in. Which and I'm sure like that must sound crazy, living on that much money every month in the UK must be like unheard of or whatever. But South Africa is very cheap standard of living, so you can get a pretty good place for not that much money.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way it's going to make me feel convinced is it's not just because of me. It's like if my family can accept it as well. Because obviously, if I was to go and live in South Africa, for example, it's a whole new world. I would only know you, Duncan, Tom, Chris's.
Yeah.
You know, and
I would suggest visiting, not living.
Yeah, and considering the crime rate is a little bit different.
Yeah, very, very, very.
Especially
different.
some of the places, like Duncan says, you don't want to go to like Johannesburg or Cape Town or anything like that because it's an absolute massive.
Yeah, it's not the smartest idea to be outside South Africa at night.
No, that's what, as you both just mentioned, just right there. Don't go there at night. Just stay at home.
Stay at home
in the night.
Stay inside, guys. But actually, no. London kind of surprised us. I remember me and Chris were in London after a show, and we were just walking the streets trying to find some food. And it was like what? It was like maybe midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And we're just walking the streets trying to find some food. And I don't know where we turned, but we turned the wrong corner where the whole vibe just kind of changed.
Really?
And we were like, whoa, this vibe seems way too familiar. This feels like home. Maybe we should head back. Like we were seeing weird, dodgy people with butterfly knives, and it was weird, dude. And we just turned right back. It felt too much like home.
Mate, the main thing you definitely do not want to go is London at very, very stupid hours in the morning. That's where
that was literally us.
That's mostly us. Oh man, that's mostly when like not just the homeless people, but people that got drug addiction or they're completely drunk. They can fucking violate you so badly.
Yep.
And you definitely don't want to go there at complete stupid hours. Like I'll go there for the show, but then I'll go straight back to where I need to go straight away. Don't go stay somewhere in London. I remember staying in London, but it was somewhere like in Piccadilly area. So it kind of changed a little bit of the perspective of going out at night, where I had someone I know, but it wasn't that bad. But I suppose it depends on the day, and I suppose where you're going to be going in the certain areas, and especially in London. So it kind of like evaluates people's opinion about don't go there in the evening, don't go there in the morning, avoid this route in a certain time, you know, and that's where it all plans out a little bit. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to get an idea. Like, I know, as I said, I've known you guys for quite a while, so I understand how the South Africa area kind of works. So it's kind of like avoid the dodgy areas at night and just go somewhere like in the beach area in the morning, then you're completely safe, you know?
Yeah. It's not all bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that would be fantastic, you know? But obviously, when it comes to not being a musician, you do video games and, you know, you like to keep yourself occupied. You know, have you got anything else apart from like watching anime and playing video games that keeps you occupied while you're still under this quarantine area?
Ooh, wow. I do watch a lot of anime. I mean, I think you just kind of inadvertently just said everything I do. I read, I guess. That's what, like,
Okay.
I get, what I usually do if I'm in quarantine is I'm usually doing work. And by work, I'm like guitar lessons or production work for stuff or music writing. Guitar related stuff usually. Either I'm working or I'm just playing guitar for fun or working on my own music for fun that's not going to any sort of projects.
Sure.
Or I'm playing video games or I'm watching anime. It's pretty much the revolving around those ones. Every now and again I'll read a book or something, but I guess I walk my dogs every morning. That's cool. Something I do. I'm a dog person and I love my dogs to pieces.
Yep.
So I walk them every morning now.
Yeah, you've got 2 huskies, isn't there?
Yeah, 2 beautiful Siberian huskies. Their names are Dante and Virgil, and nice. They're the best in the world.
That's very cool, man. Would you recommend getting a cat if you was going to get a cat, or not really?
I did definitely. I love cats. Cats are like I consider myself a dog person, but I absolutely love cats as well. What I love about cats is that a dog will love you regardless. Eventually, yeah, I feel like a dog will be excited. For a cat, you have to earn its love.
Yeah,
you have to work to get a cat to love you, and I kind of like that. You know, the challenge of like working to get this other animal's affection. You know.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to cats. Cats are sick.
Yeah, shout out to cats. I mean, I prefer dogs, but I think, as you said, as you nailed it on there, you have to gain the trust when it comes to like cats.
Yeah.
Dogs are not like stupid, but they have a lot of...
But they have a lot of love. They have a lot of affection for people. So, you know, a cat won't jump on you and go crazy when you come back from work.
No.
A dog will do that every time. But you feed your dog, and he loves the fact that you feed him. He loves the fact that you play with him. They have so much love to give.
That is definitely true. And we do love to give love back when we are humans. Pretty much got like a couple questions or so on left. How many guitars have you got?
Oh,
you kind of got a couple. I know that for sure.
I used to have a lot more, really? But I sold a bunch of them recently. So right now I have 1 acoustic guitar over there. I have 1 Ibanez.
Yep.
And I have an ESP. That's 3 so far. I have a bass that's somewhere on the floor, and then I have my Ormsby guitar that I
The
use for
priceless
everything
ones.
that everyone has seen at this
The
point.
ones that are absolute beauty, man.
My favorite guitar.
Which one's your favorite one?
Oh, dude, but no question, no comparison.
Yep, I knew it'd be that one.
That's no question. Shout out to Ormsby. I endorse these guitars.
Guitar company, they do an amazing job with their guitars. I would definitely love to get one of those guitars, but I know it's
so good.
Expensive as hell.
Yeah. I actually have another Ormsby coming, actually. So I guess
really?
That's 6 guitars. And I have one more Ormsby on its way. But obviously with the whole import stuff happening, I'm not sure when I'll get it. But
yep.
I have another one scheduled to be coming for me. So I guess I have 6 guitars now. I used to have a lot more. But nice. I have 6 guitars altogether.
You'll definitely have to give me one of your Obsy guitars, you know. That'd be fucking cool.
Well, everything has its use right now, so give me a couple of years. Maybe if I stop playing some of them.
I'm sure most of your guitars are being used for projects like Technopath, for example. And
exactly. Like I need a 6-string for like Technopath stuff with a whammy bar. Yep. For all my death metal and metal stuff, I use my Ormsby. But I also use my Ormsby for Technopath stuff as well because it's just such a great all-around guitar. So everything gets used, but the Ormsby gets used the most.
That's all good, man. That's all good, you know.
And that's not just a plug for being endorsed by Ormsby. I actually like the guitars too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do like one of the favorite models I like is the Jackson V guitars. And
oh yeah, I really love them.
They're always very good.
And, the guys from Venom Prison play those.
Well, yeah, and
really
there was one model that I always liked so much. It was I think it was the Mockingbird when I was a kid, and I thought that was cool. And that was by ESP, I think. But they also did, I don't know if it was Ibanez or whatever company. They did a weird angle guitar. It was called fucking if I can't remember, honestly. They did a Pacific angle guitars, like all shapy and that was quite cool, you know. Trade Morbid Angels guitars use this so much. So that type of model made me think that's edgy, you know, and that was quite really nice. So pretty much now I don't think we got any more. I don't have any more questions. Unless you got any questions, you can feel free to ask before we go to shout-out mentions.
I think we've pretty much covered.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. So now this is the podcast time where obviously I mentioned about giving back to the underground scenery, about, you know, giving the support. I've mentioned about contribution, as I also mentioned about Bandcamp. It does a good profit to all the bands that make money. So this is the time where I make a shout out to all. Not to all the bands, because obviously some of them have got mentioned too many. So I like to kind of like mix it a little bit. So what I like to do is get you the platform first, because I want you to do some shout outs for like whether it's companies, whether it's clothing label companies, whether it's merchandise companies, whether it's like obviously guitar company like you just mentioned, or any bands that you like to shout out that people should give it a listen. You have the platform. So feel free to say whatever you want to say, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I guess first and foremost, shout out to you, Josh, for this cool new platform that you've been doing. I think you've been doing a fucking amazing job, and really honored that you asked me to be on today's episode. So thank you, Josh.
Appreciate that, man.
No worries. You know, shout out to Ormsby Guitars for keeping me strapped up at all times. Shout out to Swiss Picks for their amazing picks. You know, shout out to all the bands right now that are trying to make ends meet, that can't, you know, do their usual band stuff that they can right now.
Absolutely.
You know, they need all the love in the world. Even if you can't afford to buy anything, just send love to the bands that you enjoy. Those little messages of people sending love to bands, we appreciate that so much.
Amen.
So, you know, just send love to them, you know. Yeah, shout out to all the bands that I'm in. We're all working on music right now. I've got another secret project with some German people that I'm also about to release, a whole other band. So that's coming. And yeah, shout out to everybody watching as well. This was a really fun thing to do, and I hope everyone's staying home and staying safe.
Yep, amen to that, bro. I like to say that as well. I like to give people a shout out to the people that are actually staying at home and are actually.
And shout out to key workers like yourself. You guys are really putting your lives on the line for stuff, for everything that we're getting at home. So shout out to you guys as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. I appreciate the. I can take the gratitude and just say, I can be thankful of myself, but sometimes I have that mindset where I am just a worker, but there are some people like yourself and there's some other people like customer wise, they just say you do a fantastic job. Much as it is heartwarming.
More people should say that.
Yeah. Much as it is heartwarming for me to say it or whatever, it is really, really meaningful that the ones that do deserve most of the gratitude is actually the doctors and nurses, all those folks that are actually putting their lives on the line. Especially where they could get exposed much more than myself or any other key workers. But in the end, everybody that deserves a shout out because, some people that are actually staying at home, they're actually sticking to the rules. People that are actually doctors and nurses, they're doing so much work. Key workers are doing so much work. The families are staying at home as much as they can. They're providing the utility that they need to keep everybody attached, trying to make sure they do good jobs. But the ones I'm not going to give a shout out to are the ones that are actually making things so much difficult to make a life much better, especially when they could have stick to the protocol. They could have done what they've been told to do, but unfortunately, they're not going to be doing that, and that kind of sucks. But overall, I like to do some band shout outs as well. So, as you mentioned, you have mentioned Vulvodyina. You've mentioned about Technopath. So I'd like to give a shout to Technopath, give a shout to Volvo. I'd like to give a shout out to Stillbirth. I'd like to give a shout out to Distance. I'd like to give a shout out to Beneath the Massacre, Archspire, all these bands that are so technical. I'd like to give a shout out to, what's this band?
Fury as well. They're really good.
Fury of Wrath, yeah. Esophagus, they just released a new album called Devere by the Inferiority. So it's on Reality Fade Records. So if you have not listened to it, it's pretty guttural, slammy, where the vocalist sounds like a predator most of the time. So that's fucking cool. It's actually very, very catchy. I'd like to do a shout out to like Chimera because I've just listened to the Chimera's album from
classic.
Absolutely. I've been listening to the Impossibility of Reason because it was their anniversary. So that album got me into Chimera so fucking much. I love Chimera.
Same. Resurrection of my favorite.
No, I love the self-titled The Black Album.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was also really.
That's really
I'm a big Chimera fan as well.
Oh man, I mean we can listen to some Chimera when we get back together, and we
Fuck
can
yeah, dude.
that shit.
That'd be sick, dude.
I'd love to give a shout out to Disnormality. They're from Chile, and they just released an album last year ago called Covered with Nuclearis. So I think it's on Bandcamp, but it's also on Spotify. So that most of my music I listen to is on Spotify. I'd like to give a shout out to Splattered. They're a fucking decent band from the US, Cerebral Implication. They're from the US as well. Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out also another band from, I think they're from Australia, if I remember correctly. It's called Internal Devour and Splatterpuss. Two bands that are definitely from what's it called? Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember that shit now. My brain's pretty much gone fried. Definitely another one I want to do is Referent Helpless. What's his name? It's called Alex. The vocalist is really decent. He works hard with his vocals, along with Organic Tommy. They're fucking cool as well. Ingested. They do a fucking decent amount of music, and there was a mention long ago that I did a podcast with, I think it was episode number 3, where I mentioned about how Ingested, once upon a time, they did Human Suffering of the Boundaries. 10 years or so ago, and they took a different music path by becoming a bit more different, album by album. Second album, the Prusent, it was a bit more deathcore. And the third album was a bit more death metal-ish. So they got a bit of a variety of music change, and that's what you definitely need when you be in a band.
Bands grow.
Oh yeah, and it does grow, and it does work out very well because they are a very, very decent band in the UK now, and all that hard work comes into play. And
love me some INGESTED.
Oh man, you gotta love INGESTED for sure. But yeah, I love
their vocalist spilled beer on me once.
Oh man, I mean, I love Jason, man. Jason is a really, really cool dude, especially when he is a fan of wrestling, but he's also plays video games. Mention that. Jason has got a Twitch account. I think it's called the Slam King. It's basically Jason does play video games on his Twitch account. If you have not done that, go and watch Jason play some stuff on Twitch.
A lot of band members actually have a Twitch and play games, so that's also a platform that people should get more into.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to do Twitch live streams, but I think most of my problem is going to be the internet connection. So it will be that. Then try to make the money to get like a video capturing device, and that becomes a little problem. So, as we mentioned earlier, how every bit of money does matter about supporting bands. It also supports about making sure you get the money for the bills that you need to pay as well.
Exactly.
Shout out to Suffocation. I would love to get an interview with Treyas Hobbs. He will be an absolute masterful interview to have. If anybody that I'm friends with does know how to get an interview with Treyas Hobbs, please tell me, because I would love to get him on my podcast one day. But yeah, I'd love to give a shout out to you, Lwandale, and I would love to give a shout out to pretty much everybody that I know I'm friends with, because they're all doing their best to make sure they're happy and healthy and, doing what they love to do. Just obviously being positive, giving love to everyone, not being negative, that's the main thing that matters. So this is pretty much the fire current of what I have to say. If you got anything that you want to say for the final words, you're more than welcome to say right now before I have to. Feel free to say anything, bro.
Yeah. Peace and love to everybody. Everyone stay safe and stay home.
Absolutely. So yeah, anybody that has been watching this interview or any interviews, I really appreciate the support. I appreciate the opportunity that many people leave feedback. Even if there's criticism, tell me how I can interact with people more, or how I need to do my work a little bit more when it comes to vocals. Try to be a bit more clearer, like I'm trying to be right now. Trying to be a bit more conversational, trying to make sure try to make so much conservation with people, which always becomes a struggle in my life. But, I'm trying to overcome it. But yeah, I love to make sure I try and give interaction with many people as much as possible. So this is where the 3-day Joshua Fives podcast comes into play, where I am doing 3 days a week now instead of 2 days. So yeah, my next interview will be with Mr. Sam Yates from INGESTED. It will be on a Saturday, and I will be looking forward to doing an interview with Sam. Him and I actually went to a Fox and Hubs Thursday section, and this was 2 weeks ago, I think. And pretty much him and I just been chatting like random stuff for the past half an hour, where he was in the session as well, and it was just like lol this, lol that, So nice. But he was drinking like Baileys as well at fucking midnight. I was like, what? Drinking Baileys at midnight? Sam, you're fucking ridiculous. I don't know if that was vegan. I don't know if it was vegan Baileys, but that would be very interesting if it was vegan Baileys. But yeah, no, honestly, I'm very grateful that everybody's taking the time to listen to my podcast. It really matters. And the reason I'm doing it is just making sure the community for the underground music scenery matters so much. And, they deserve so much popularity and so much recognition, especially when bands that do work so much, they don't get recognized, and it kind of sucks. So this podcast is all about trying to make sure people get the opportunity to have the platform to make sure they can get the recognition they deserve. Like, even if it's like 1, 2, or 3 bands new band fans that people can listen to, then it matters so much, and especially when their money can go to you guys, especially. But yeah, I think this is going to be it. Thank you very much for paying attention, or staying in tune to the podcast more than less. I don't know why I said pay attention. I really don't know. But yeah, I think I've just started another outtake, just making random shit. Jesus. But yeah, I pretty much want to be grateful for everyone that's staying in touch with this podcast. Saturday, it will be on 7 o'clock. I'm interviewing with Sam. It will be uploaded on Sunday morning if anybody wants to listen to it. So Sunday morning, guys, for Sam Yates Ingested, episode 6, Joshua Fire's podcast episode session. Lwandale, thank you very much to be on this podcast, dude. I'm happy that you've been on here, my friend. So I hope that stuff in South Africa becomes a bit more easier soon than later. Especially with the situation, you want to make sure that it gets better in the long run. I hope it just stays much better and much safer for all of you guys, and especially everybody that's in this situation. I hope everyone stays safe. That really matters so much. It can make a huge difference as well. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Just do whatever you gotta do. All right. Peace out, guys.
Big love.